Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at an oldie but a goodie, a favorite of mine from back in the day. The Megatraveller PC games. It was, number one was the Zodani Conspiracy, and number two was for the Ancients. This is a two-in-one box that I bought. I'm going to go into some of the history of the game, some of what made it so much fun, and what you got when you bought this. You got a really good book in here when you bought this. So today on page 121, Megatraveller video games. Okay, the Megatraveller video games. These were published by Paragon Software in full cooperation with GDW and Mark Miller. These were official Megatraveller games. They were set in, I know the first one's set in the Spinward Marches. I believe both of them are. And in it, you got to experience the world of Traveller on your PC. Now, these were out in 1990 for the first one and 1991 for the second. That was an interesting time for home computer games, and I'm going to show what it took to install this thing. Here we have the discs. This is for Zodani Conspiracy, Megatraveller 1, which was out in 1990. This was fun. I had a lot of fun playing this game. There's no we, I played it. Buddy of mine did play it. In fact, I gave him my original copy of Megatraveller 1 when I bought this double set. So I don't have my original copy of it because I was nice and gave it to a friend who also enjoyed it. This game was a lot of fun. It was a kind of a top-down, move the guy, then go to move the next guy. You had a party of 5. Clumsy as could be. Took forever to load. This one wasn't too bad. Megatraveller 2. These are the 5 1/4 inch discs, boys and girls. Megatraveller 2 had 6 discs. This thing took forever to load in your computer. But it was what we had at the time. I was really excited because it was Megatraveller. It felt like Megatraveller. It was playable. I really liked the first one, especially the Zodani Conspiracy, because it was just before the Fifth Frontier War, and you were dealing with a plot by those evil Zodani to suborn the rightful rule of the Imperium. I'm using high words there because that's how the game kind of went. It was Traveller in its truest form. You had to gather money to be able to afford a better jump drive so you could complete the quest. It was everything Traveller is. A lot of fun. I have to be honest, Megatraveller 2, by the time this one came out in 91, I was a new dad. I didn't have nearly as much time as I did in 90 when my wife slept a lot because she was pregnant with our first child. So I played this for a while, and I played these into the mid-90s until our computer died in about 96. And I no longer had a computer that these could play on. Megatraveller 2, I really didn't play that much of. Megatraveller 1 was really where my time was spent, and I enjoyed these games. I enjoyed that game especially, but I enjoyed both of them. Here's the book. This is the book I mentioned in the open that, for my money, was a real treat. This is the Zodani Conspiracy, but the idea is, of course, they want you to play the paper game. So what do? They tell you about the paper game. Here we go. Here's a game manual. It's a gameplay manual. Here's an open letter of introduction from Mark Miller. And we go into the gameplay manual. Look at that. A full map of the Third Imperium. So if we're over here in the Spinward Marches, you're going to wonder what the rest of this stuff is. Now, I've been into Traveller by this point 9 years by the time this was released. So I knew what was to know about Traveller at the time. Here's the Spinward Marches, so you could see the world that everything was in. But this was a good idea because this gave you real incentive to buy the regular game. Because here we go into the Frontier Wars. There's a nice history of the Frontier Wars in here. The first, the second, the third, the fourth, and then the fifth, which is happening we're just before that in the first game. And here's how you create your characters in Megatraveller. And it talks a lot about your stats and your UPP your military service. It goes into everything it would be to play Megatraveller. This was a nice book. I pull this book out periodically just for inspiration. Plus, I like to write up on the Frontier Wars. So here's a nice definition, a library data, if you will. And then we go to Interstellar Exploration and Starship Combat. So it shows you how to play the game, but it also talks about how to play Megatraveller on paper. Here's the stuff from in the game. The graphics in here, we're talking late 80s when it was being developed, 90 when it was released. Very 80s feel, which goes beautifully with Megatraveller. By the way, I know I've mentioned it before, but I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Megatraveller. That game came out right about the time I got married. So my wife and I were in our first apartment. We were both working full-time, but being newly married, with no kids, we had quite a bit of spare time. I spent a lot of that spare time reading Megatraveller. So Megatraveller will always have a soft spot in my heart. Also, it was a game I read a lot when my first son was born. So I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for this game. So here we go. We go into the world sizes so you can follow this. I used to keep this book right there on the desk with me and refer to it. Even though I was familiar with most of the terms, some of the actual in-the-moment information in here was useful. Now we go into your starship stats. These are very pared down. These are for the video game. You get the different items you can get for your starship that you can carry to make money on because, you know, for the most part, you're a merchant in this game, but you're on this secret mission. And we just keep going through here. And now we come to the various systems showing the orbits of the planets. This had kind of a unique, well, I don't know about unique, but it had a different kind of orbital mechanic. It felt a lot like Asteroids, which was out in about 79, where you had that drift and you carried your momentum and things like that. This game had some of that, and I remember it being a little tricky to kind of get used to, even though I was a big fan of Asteroids and played it for years. It was still kind of strange to get used to. The combat was not very combative, being when this was made, there wasn't a ton they could do with that stuff yet. But still, nostalgia-wise, this will always have a place in my heart. So here we go. We got terrain you have to deal with when you get to the worlds. You have very limited paths you could walk on with your characters. And so you had to walk around fences. You didn't have any real mobility as far as jumping over a fence or entering other than through a door. Again, it was the very late 80s, early 90s when this was developed. Some nice looking vehicles that are available. And there were some nice images that popped up in the game to show you what you were dealing with. Showing you the various buildings that are in the game, and then you could recognize them by the little icons. It was just a neat game. It was a great way, Friday night after a long week of work, sit down, you're done watching TV for the day, you're going to relax for a little bit at the computer, you crack a beer, and you play a little Megatraveller. It was fun. We were playing an active Megatraveller campaign when this started, so that was nice too. I had mine set in the classic era, though by that time I wasn't in the Rebellion anymore. So here we are, the glossary of terms. Your planet, one of the planets you start on is Fate. And just going through the glossary of terms, now a lot of which aren't really important to the game. Again, they're trying to get you to play the paper version, which is, of course, the ultimate reason they did this. And then the Imperial Soldiers' Weapons and Armor Guide. This is really handy. I wouldn't mind seeing something like this come out from Mongoose. I know that they have the weapons locker and things like that for Mongoose, but this was just kind of a neat little synopsis of everything that was there. I like this. I like having pictures of what my weapons look like. It's just the gamer in me. I know I can go look up a real life weapon. That's not what I'm doing. I want to look at a picture of the game weapon that I'm using. I'm silly that way. And here's the various types of armor. I love this game. Bounty Hunter and Assassin's Journal here at the back, where you could get bounties and be a bounty hunter. You could even be a pirate in this game. There is no alignment as such. There isn't in Traveller. You were just bound by your own ethics. So here's the various bounties you could get. This is just a fun game. So you could look up the actual bounty from the game in this book, and it would tell you the backstory. And then, of course, the famous limited warranty, and then a blank back. Now, for Megatraveller 2, we got a more standard rule book. This is geared just for the game. And I felt it lost a little bit. Again, we got the great Traveller artwork. This is by Jeff D. from 1988. That is such a thing. The aesthetic of Traveller, to me, is so great. And then we come down to Mark Miller with another letter. Mark was, as far as I ever knew, Mark was very active in this. This goes into the Legend of the Ancients. In this one, you find an ancient artifact and are trying to get it to a place where it can be studied and you can get money for it. Nice map of the Third Imperium again. A brief history of the Imperium. The Spinward Marches itself. And then the main scenario introduction. And then how you play the game. As I said, this one's a little more of a standard role-playing rulebook. Or a game, PC rulebook. It gives a lot of the stuff, but I like the spiral bound. For one thing, it was a lot easier to deal with while I was playing the game, having the spiral bound. And then you can have skills for Megatraveller 2, which is just like in Megatraveller. I still like the cascade mechanic. I think that's pretty cool. But this one didn't have the same flavor, for me at least, as the other one. It's still a neat book, but I like the other one. The other one felt like a field manual. Here's some of the artwork that appears inside the game. And handy reference for gameplay. As I said, this one feels much more like a PC how-to-play game rulebook than an actual manual that you could use in Traveller, which the other one certainly feels like. I keep this on my shelf with my Traveller stuff because I look at that the book from Game 1 quite a bit. And here we have the starships. These are the classic starship pictures. Love these pictures. I love this artwork from Traveller. These are just nice. That artwork appeared in I don't know how many things. Again, your famous limited warranty in the back of the book. The other stuff you got in the box was all the compatibilities and hardware and system requirements, how to load the thing. I didn't even know how to load this. My wife had a lot of experience at her job, so she's the one that used to load the games for me. These games took quite a bit of knowledge to know when to swap discs and all that good stuff. I eventually learned, but she loaded these two for me. This is the addendum to the manual, so they published a little addendum that came out in this. This also, if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of the 1.1 version of the Zodani Conspiracy. They did a couple of patches and repairs on it, and this is included. Here we just have Micro Pros and Medalist games available for off at this time. Your backup order form. I love all this stuff in the back of inside a box when you buy something. The warranty registration card, which obviously I never sent in. And Paragon's GDW series. I really don't know anything about the Space 1889 game, if that ever happened. And I don't know if Twilight 2000 happened. I wasn't really interested in either game system. I really didn't care. So if anybody knows if those games actually happened, let me know. There was going to be a third version of this game that was to come out in '92, and that never happened. So here we have just a plug for Microprose games and how great they are for the awesome time of 1990, 1991. So that's a good look at the Paragon software offering of Megatraveller PC game and Megatraveller 2. If you had this game, I'm sure you loved it just like I did. Warts and all, this is a fun game. It is still around on some abandonware sites. I'm not going to be attaching any links to those because I have no idea the legality of those. So I'm not saying go there. I don't know anything about it. I've never used it. I just found it in my research for today, and I thought I'd make a mention of it. So that's all I've got for today from page 121. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.